Hey, it's Chris Van Fleet, and you are watching, or quite possibly listening, to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. Woo!
Well, we are live, pals, and welcome to my favorite edition of the Bill Apter Sealed of Approved Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. My name is Tyler, and I am joined, as always, by the one and only Mojito Mike.
Happy New Year!
Oh, it's not Happy New Year yet.
Oh.
It's the year-end show, part one of our two-part look at the best...
Happy year-end!
If you keep this up, I'm going to start doing the Sting voice already.
At least you can hear me when I do mine. You hit this fucking register that nobody can hear you do it. It's weird.
Well, maybe, I don't know. This is your list this year, so maybe, I'm not going to spoil anything, but maybe we will be talking about Sting, and I get to do the voice later. I don't know. We'll see. It's early.
I don't want to, and I'm not going to spoil any of my list right now. People are going to listen to the next two shows to get my whole list. However, you are the one and only person on the whole planet who has seen my list.
That's fair.
You have seen my 7 moments of 2023. Can you tell me right now that I did a bad job?
I can't. Even order
because you love to share my lists.
I do.
You love to remind me how bad I fucked up Canada Day a few years ago. I will
never let you. I'm not the only one, by the way.
But did I fuck up the year of 2023?
I'm sure that you fucked up many aspects of the year 2023, but this list is not one of them. I'm a big fan of your list. I maybe your number 7. I could have maybe flipped into something different, but you know, you're also not wrong on your number 7. We'll get to that in a bit.
Number seven, as it does often on this show, number 7 changed it quite a few times.
Oh, I know.
But this is it's finally recording day. We've been working on this for weeks, by the way.
No, months, Mike. I have been listen. All right, let's pull the curtain back here. First of all, I want to tip Barry Horwood's pat on the back to both of us right now, because we put in a lot of work for the year-end show every year. Both of us do. And I really think that this is the most star-studded lineup that we ever have for the year-end show.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. Last year was pretty badass.
Last year was pretty big. This year is at least on par, if not bigger. We go all out with the year-end shows, no pun intended. I am going to give a bit more of a pat to you than I am going to take for myself. I have been a tad bit more focused on episode 200. I've been trying to make sure that we have a big show coming up for episode 200, knowing that the year-end show is in very capable and good hands with you. So I didn't feel bad about taking a step back from the year-end this year and making sure that our 200th show is amazing. Well,
I'm not there yet. We're getting there.
You booked just as many guests for the year-end show as I did. Like you pulled your weight. You got some big names.
You are going to hear me a bit more on this show than you did last year. I had to, like, so many times last year, I just couldn't make it on the show. I'm on the show like for 15 fucking minutes.
Yeah, most people say it's our best show ever.
Yeah, I'm sure. But this year I was able to, and you're right. I was able to bring in a couple names for the whole list. Amazing people have joined us for this list, and I was able to jump on with the majority of these interviews. Not all of them, unfortunately, but you are going to hear more of Tyler than you are of me this year. But that's how the cookie crumbles. What can I say?
Well, let's pull the curtain back a little bit here. I'm sure that over the last... Now, I have been bothering you since October.
since June. Fuck you since October.
Okay.
You started bothering me at the end of the summer.
I did. I started planting the seeds.
It was midsummer. You're like, hey, we got to talk about the year end. I'm like, are you fucking with me right now? The year end. I'm sitting at the cottage on holidays, and you're like, we need to talk about the year end. It's June.
Yes, and for good reason. But I really started putting the full court press on you for the year-end show in October. I would say that's fair. I really started pressuring you.
100%, yes.
And I don't think I asked a lot out of you. I said, hey man, I need you to send me your rough list of what you think it's going to be so I can start thinking about guests.
And that was so hard.
And 1 month later, I still had no list from you. I'm sure that you wanted to murder me at some points.
Not that I wasn't, and not that I wasn't working on it. It's just 2023 was just, it was a hell of a year in professional wrestling, and it was a difficult list this year. It was,
and it was difficult to get our guests this year as well because it's hard for us to line up our schedules. We're busy. We have lives outside of this. We have families that we're trying to put time in with, and to line up 7 different guests is very hard.
Last year I found was easier. Like we reached out to people
because you weren't on the show last year.
But I did help with putting the show together. Yes. We reached out to people. They said yes. We did the interview and we went on. This year, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. We have 6 people on the show this year. We reached out to about 20.
I don't know if it was that bad. I think we had a little bit better luck than you're giving credit for.
I also reached out to a lot of people I never told you about.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
but I mean,
I hoard myself out this year, man. I was just good.
The other fun thing about this year's list as well is that normally when we do I'm really going to pull the curtain back and talk a little bit about the year-end show because we do put a lot of work into it.
All right. So that's number 4. So I'm calling you out now. It's been me the last couple of weeks overusing a phrase. Now it's pull the curtain back. That's 4 times in 10 minutes.
Well, I'm pulling it back. I don't care. But normally, when we do these year-end show interviews,
you gotta pull it back to clean in there,
No, not to clean. Just to pull back and just smell it and put it back.
Go ahead.
Normally, when we set up these interviews, we just kind of reach out to somebody and be like, hey, do you want to come on and talk about this moment? But this year, we conducted full interviews with almost everybody that you're hearing on the show. So we've got some great interviews coming up in the future as well with our guests today, which I'm really excited for you guys to hear because a lot of these interviews are spectacular. And when we took little snippets from these interviews and we're going to play them for the year-end show. But I'm really excited. We're off to 2024 is going to go off to a hot start for Count It Out.
100%.
And I also get to take some much needed time off, which I'm really happy about. I like taking a little break in the January season.
I'm glad you said much needed and not much deserved.
No, I never deserve. No, deserve is a silly word. What do we really deserve? You know what I mean? I don't.
I deserve a lot. I deserve a lot just for putting up with your ass every fucking week.
I don't deserve a break from taking I don't deserve to take a break from my love and my hobby that I do. I choose to. But we're going to do something a little bit different this year. And we're going to start with your number 7. Now, your number 7 surprised me so much that I want to do it with you because, and I'm going to let you tell the people what it is. And then
this is the one and only item we're gonna have on the list that doesn't have a special guest.
Well, that's not true because I actually have comments from the person.
Oh, that is very true.
That we're going to play after we talk about this.
Because you did talk to the topic, yeah.
So before, because I have a lot I want to say before anything. So tell the people what your number 7 is, and then I'd like to say something before we get into it.
My number 7 is the compiled in-ring work of one Mr. Will Ospreay through the year 2023. From an in-ring standpoint, Will Ospreay is untouchable. Nobody did in the ring what Will Ospreay did in 2023. And that needs to be talked about. And that is my number 7 of the quote-unquote moments of the year of 2023.
So I'm going to kind of take your moment as well and kind of expand it to the year of Will Ospreay outside of the ring as well, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But Mike, has hell frozen over? Because for many, many years,
Okay,
for many, many years on this show and in our
Yep.
personal conversations, I don't like
Yep.
Will Ospreay. I don't like
I
him.
don't.
I don't like his style. I don't
I
like what he does in the
I
ring.
I don't like Will Ospreay.
And here we
Will
are.
Ospreay, and I said this to you yesterday, and I'm sure it was a text, but I'm sure you were marking out on in your own right when you read this. Will Ospreay is my new and modern Bret Hart. Bret Hart for years was the guy I was told, I'm not a Bret Hart fan. I'm not. I'm not a Bret Hart fan. I didn't grow up a Bret Hart fan. I always rooted for Stone Cold Steve Austin and Owen Hart and Jerry Lawler. I was never a Bret Hart fan. I'm not a Bret Hart fan. I think he's a bitter, old, disgusting old fucking man. I have no respect for Bret Hart. I don't like Bret Hart. I am not a Bret Hart fan. Hey, Mike, what are your favorite matches of all time? Well, and then I list off 10 fucking Bret Hart matches. There's a big difference between liking a wrestler and respecting a wrestler's body of work. Will Ospreay falls into that category.
But he didn't before.
I
didn't like
can't
his
call
body
myself
before.
He did something in 2023, man. 2023 was ridiculous.
What was it though? Like, do you have something that you can think of that changed your opinion the way you watch him in the ring? I'm very curious by this because I don't feel like he's changed a lot. So
number one, his and I'll give AEW credit for this because his introduction, not his introduction, but his more of a focus on the mainstream wrestling this year. Because let's be honest, man, I know a lot of people are going to be not happy to hear me say this, but New Japan is not mainstream wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Not in Western culture. Okay, New Japan is still that's your smart mark stuff. That's still you got to look for that shit. You know what I mean? That's not in front of your face every week unless you are a smart mark on the internet looking for that stuff. New Japan is not mainstream wrestling. If you are not privy to that, if you're a WWE fan and strictly a WWE fan, you probably don't know who Will Ospreay is. So this year, Will Ospreay really came into his own in the mainstream because of his work with AEW and Impact. And every single time he did a show with either one of those brands, he put on the match of the night, or if not one of the matches of the night. He has been the most talked about independent wrestler of 2023, maybe second only to Matt Cardona. He has been the talk of the wrestling world because of his match quality, where is he going to go? Everybody knew he was getting close to finishing up with New Japan. Where is he going to go? That was a huge topic this year. He was on the lips of everybody. The only person I think people were talking about more this year was CM Punk.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Maybe MJF to an extent.
If you weren't talking about CM Punk, you were definitely talking about Will Ospreay. You're talking about where's he going to go? What's he going to do? There was even a part of you. There was a piece in the back of your mind that Will Ospreay could have showed up in WWE this year. It could have happened.
Yeah.
So the fact that he has really stepped into that mainstream, that his matches were impossible to mix, to not watch, that's what got me into him this year. Obviously I am a New Japan fan, but I'm not a New Japan fan to the point where I watch every fucking New Japan show. I watch Wrestle Kingdom every year.
Yeah.
But that's, you know what I mean? But that's pretty much it. Up until 2023, I didn't watch Will Ospreay every month. Do you want to know? There are 52. Now, remember, this is 2023. This is not 1996 or 1998, where wrestlers are wrestling 6 times a fucking week, breaking their backs.
it's not that era anymore. So the number I'm about to say is actually more impressive than it sounds. In 2023, do you know how many matches Will Ospreay put in? In a 52-week year, he had 69 matches.
That's crazy. And 8 of those were 5-star matches rated by Dave Meltzer.
That's insane.
That is pretty crazy.
I don't give a fuck about Meltzer's system.
No, but you know what I mean?
But
Like,
I do know what you mean. The fact that he put in 69 matches this year, and the ones that aren't 5 stars are probably 4.5s.
yeah, and they're probably
This was not only, now there was a lot of multi-man matches in there. Let me put that out there. But this was not only a phenomenal year for Will Ospreay, this is a great year for the United Empire. His stable in New Japan, all those guys got highlighted in New Japan big time. This is a great year for TJ, who, go in the archives, guys. TJ was on the show this year.
Yeah, maybe I'll even put in a little clip of TJ talking about Ospreay if we have one in there.
This is a great year this is a great year for Great O'Khan. This is a great year for everybody in that faction this year. So for Will Ospreay to go from that being pretty much the man, like, would you say Will Ospreay is second maybe only to Okada in New Japan right now?
Yeah, Nate and maybe Nato and
yeah, maybe. And to make that switch to North America, North America, even though he's gonna be based in Britain, right?
Yeah, but he's signed with AEW.
Yes, so he's based. He will be working for a North American company. He's going to be the biggest name in professional wrestling in 2024.
You think so, eh?
Well, I mean, that's my prediction as we speak right now, because I think we're going to see less and less and less and less Dragon as the year goes on. I think Dragon's starting to work himself out into an office role, which I think is where he needs to go. So I think we're going to start seeing less Dragon, and then it's going to be like in AEW. I think it's going to be Ospreay and MJF kind of on a pedestal like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's my prediction for 24.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Will Ospreay, it goes to show how talented he really is when all people were talking about halfway through the year was, oh my God, Will Ospreay is going to be a free agent in February.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. And I think, kudos for AEW for getting aggressive and signing him, and reaching 100%. Out to New Japan and asking for permission. And, they were smart. Like, Ospreay basically is going to be doing the same thing that he's doing now, just more exclusively for AEW. But we're still going to see him in New Japan. We'll probably still see him do shots for Impact. And
I think that's why it was the smarter move for Ospreay to sign with AEW. He probably would have been a little bit watered down in WWE. He definitely wouldn't be able to have the freedom of doing what he wanted and going around doing the spots he wants to do in WWE. So I think AEW is the right move for him, 100%.
So what are some of your favorite Ospreay moments of the year then?
I'm thankful you asked me that. I'm not surprising anybody. I'm not, no one's gonna be shocked when I say that I'm a massive Impact mark. So let's go straight to the Impact pool here. His match with Bayley, I think, is one of the matches of the year.
I agree.
It's one of the best things I've seen this year. Mike Bayley alone is one of the best wrestlers on the planet.
Also agree.
So to put him against Will Ospreay was a no-brainer. It was an amazing match. His match with Josh, again, also fucking A. like holy shit, you know what I mean? A lot of his New Japan matches I got to later. I didn't get to see live, and I had to catch up on when we were trying to put this show together. One of them, I don't know if you saw this match. This match happened in New Japan. It was Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, that was a recent match a couple months ago, right?
Yeah.
They tore the house down.
I'm having a hard time deciding which match was better, Sabre Jr. versus Osprey or Sabre Jr. versus Danielson, because they were
Both great
both
matches.
fucking bangers.
Sabre Jr. also just had a banger in Impact Wrestling tag match.
I'm gonna say this name wrong because I'm almost as bad as you are with Japanese names. But there was a match I got to watch a few months ago that he did for Noah. And it was against a guy named Noah Michi Marafuji.
Yeah, Marufuji. He's a
I'm
massive
very
name.
bad. Okay, all right. I'm not a big Noah guy, so I don't know if I've ever seen him work before. To be perfectly honest.
Marufuji had a great run with Ring of Honor back in like the 2006-7 era. There, they were doing a lot of work together.
That was when I was out of Ring of Honor, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Marufuji is that was his 25th anniversary show, I believe. That Osprey and him had to go on, and that was a dream match for Osprey. Osprey came out and said that as well.
Phenomenal match. His match with Jericho at All In. I got to give that a mention.
The fact that he was on that's a huge card. You know what I mean? That's one of the biggest shows of the year. And Osprey, and just his partnership with Don Callis in general, I thought was really
good. I thought that was really cool. Like I said, a lot of his match. He did some really cool stuff in the Super Strong tournament, by the way. A lot of that, like that was a cool tournament. I didn't get to see the whole thing, but what I did see was really cool, and he really took a shine in that tournament.
And of course, you can't forget the stuff he did with Kenny Omega was
magic. I was waiting I wanted you to bring that up because you got to sit there live, right?
It was incredible. Yeah.
I wasn't there live. I wasn't there live. I think listen to me. I don't want to disparage this match. I don't want to take anything away from this match. People are calling this one of the greatest matches of all time. I don't know if I'm that guy. You and I can't have that conversation because you have the distinction to be like, I was there.
Yeah, it's like Hogan and Rock for me.
Exactly. I know I was there. I know what that felt like. I think that's two very different animals. You also enjoy a bit of a different style of wrestling than I do. I'm not going to disparage that match at all. I have problems with the match. I'm not a fan of that finish. I'm not a fan of the Don Callis.
That's a big thing for me. I did not like that Don Callis got ejected and then got to come back out. I thought that was stupid.
But am I going to shit on the match at all? Of course not. Of course not. Spoiler alert, when we talk about match of the year, is it my match of the year? I'm going to tell you right now, no, it's not. But would it be in contention? Would it be worth talking about? Was it worth me going and rewatching it to make sure? 100%. I did rewatch it this week to make sure it wasn't my match of the year. And it's not. And that is a spoiler alert. You guys can wait and see what my match of the year is, but it's not Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega. But am I kind of jealous that you got to sit there live during that show? Just a little bit.
When Kenny kicked out of the one way, well, you know what? Who knows? Maybe we'll talk about this match a little bit later on in more detail. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. It's going to be at least in our honorable mention conversation when we talk about match of the year later in the show.
100%. Yeah.
The last cool thing that he's kind of done is now all this stuff where he took the IWGP United States Championship, turned into the UK Championship, and now it's going to be, I believe, the International Championship, or I can't remember what they're naming it now off the top of my head. But they're renaming it. He's heading into the Tokyo Dome against David Finlay and John Moxley in a triple threat for that. And what a better way to kick off the launch of TNA Wrestling with Will Ospreay versus Josh Alexander 2.
Which, holy fuck, man. Scotty knows what he's doing, man. Scotty knows what he's doing. Here's my question. We need a rubber match, right? You put Josh over?
At this point, I would be pushing to put Josh over if I was Scotty.
I'm pushing to put Josh over. You need that rubber match.
Know why I would be pushing to put him over more? I want my guy to get a win over the AEW signee.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Ospreay's going to go over again. I can't see AEW wanting him to lose before he's even debuted.
Yeah.
But that's politics. Who knows?
But he hasn't officially started with AEW yet. But it doesn't really count yet.
Fair, but he's signed though. Like I don't know.
He's signed. Yeah. Yeah.
Politics, man.
It's weird. Politics, 100%.
Well, we've talked a lot about the man. You have surprised me with your number 7, but why don't we hear from the man himself?
I got a lot of surprises for you this show, man. A lot.
That's terrifying. Earlier this year, and I believe it was towards the end of October, I actually got a chance to talk to Will Ospreay as part of an Impact Wrestling press conference, and I asked him about his relationship with Canada, which is very, very outspoken, and some of his bigger matches of the year, and what he thinks about working with Canadian talent. So, who says we don't have 7 guests? Because right now, number 7. Take it from the man.
I got a question for y'all. Who's your daddy?
Well, Will Ospreay's gonna tell you right now. Will, you have made no bones about how you feel about our great country over here. This year alone, you've got to wrestle some of the best talent that our country has to offer. Can you kind of reflect back on the importance of some of these matches that you've had this year with the likes of Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, and also looking ahead, how you feel personally about getting in the ring with guys like Speedball Mike Bailey and especially Josh Alexander, who, as far as I know, you haven't got to get in there with?
Oh, that's a mouthful. Listen, I think it's very important for Canadians to watch these matches to realise that England are your daddies. So just a reminder to all Canadians, I, Will Ospreay, am your daddy. But on a genuine, serious note, like it's always a pleasure to get in the ring with guys that I idolize, and I loved watching. Like Kenny rose to the tops of New Japan while I was just about coming into New Japan, and obviously Chris Jericho I've watched since I was like a teenager, and I've always had that much respect to him. I believe that he is one of the greatest of all time, the greatest to ever do it. The fact that he's had a career for that long and always able to stay relevant, always able to adapt with the best of wrestlers, just goes to show how good he is. But when it comes to myself and Mike, the thing that I was actually saying a while ago was this one's interested me more because with the Kenny match, the Jericho match, the Okada match, I've always been the guy chasing. I've always been the guy underneath. So now doing it against Speedball, I think we're both kind of like the world beaters of wrestling. We go out everywhere and everywhere, still performing at the very highest level. And now I think we're both in our prime. We're both like ready to show people what of a caliber of wrestler we both are. So that's why I'm very excited to do this match with Bailey. But I do think it's extremely important to Canadians to just realise that I am your daddy.
This brings us to yet another one of our year-end awards that I don't know if they're awards, but our choices for best this and that and the other. And we're at Tag Team of the Year here. Usually one that I'm very, very excited about. This year I didn't find was the best year for tag team wrestling. Okay. As I say that with the Usos main eventing WrestleMania, that alone almost made me pick them in general as my tag team of the year. But I went with a team that I think was the most consistent team throughout the whole year. They constantly put on great matches. They stayed together as a team throughout the whole year. A couple tag team title reigns in there for you. And I'm going with the team of ABC, Chris Bay and Ace Austin from Impact Wrestling.
All right.
I think they had incredible matches with, the Machine Guns and basically anybody that they were in there with, TDMK, they had great matches with, just constantly good. Under the radar this year, their body of work really slid under the radar, because, you always have your FTRs that are there and your Usos and your Owens and Zanes and stuff and Judgment Days. But Bay and Austin, every time they were out there, was a great match, almost match of the night every time they were out there. And for that reason alone, taking them for my tag team of the year.
I had a hard time with tag team of the year. I think ABC would have been a very obvious answer as well. I think they were tremendous this year. It's not the way I went. I think I went a little bit of a, as you like to say, I think I took a deep cut.
I think I went in a route that most people wouldn't have gone, but I'm going to stand by it. I think these guys were consistent through their entire year. I think they just because they weren't the talk of the wrestling world does not mean they weren't putting on amazing matches everywhere they went. And that means from AEW to Impact to New Japan, all over the fucking world, these guys. My tag team of the year is Aussie Open.
Yeah, great choice. Great choice.
They were very impressive in 2023.
I would like to see Aussie Open and ABC get in there a couple times as well. I don't know if they cross passes.
100%.
I can't remember off the top of my head if they cross passes here, but that'd be a banger.
Not to my knowledge. Yeah, 100%.
Man, look at us go. Again, not the same choices, but I think we both have some respect for each other's picks there.
You haven't shit on me yet, so this is a pretty good year.
Your list has been good so far. Your choice has been good. Yeah, man. I don't know. I got nothing else to say. That was our tag team of the year. Let's keep going with the list.
Let's keep going.
This is Wildcat Chris Harris, one half of America's Most Wanted. You're listening to Count It Out with Tyler and Mike.
Now, the big news coming out of the Bound for Glory pay-per-view is the return of the TNA name. Total Nonstop Action is back. I'd love to get your opinion on seeing those initials back and the logo and just what you think of how everything came to be there.
Yeah, well, they certainly kept it hidden. It did not get out, and even me, being one of the originals, and I was there for the Hall of Fame. I had no idea that was going to happen. But yeah, I mean, of course, people can expect my reaction. I'm very excited for it. It was just one of those things that just wouldn't go away, and we've had different power plays throughout the years. I think a lot, that's common knowledge to a lot of people as far as who's running things, who's owning things, and yeah, for one reason or another, we've heard, it's just hard with the TNA name to get whatever sponsors or just different things like that, and all that may be valid, but the thing is, wherever the idea, the concept came from in those early days, that's what they decided to go with, and that's what we made a name out of. So, it just, all of the greatness in this company, came out of TNA, and changing it to Impact just didn't have the same feel for it, and obviously the fans felt the same way because throughout the years, I know it wasn't a long time. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years. I can't remember. Maybe 2017 they changed it. I can't really remember, but yeah, the fans wouldn't let it go. You would still hear the TNA chants, and then it was almost like it was instinct. They would chant that and then realize, oh no, we have to chant Impact Wrestling. And it never went away. The fans wouldn't let it go, I think. And even judging by the reactions of some of the existing talent, because you would think that, maybe they're like, hey, TNA's dead and we're trying to move on and make something out of the Impact brand. But yeah, just the feedback that I got from everybody, they were even the ones that were in there now were so excited because they were fans of TNA wrestling. So many of them were fans of the TNA brand and what it represented, that they were happy to be able to say that they were going to be a TNA wrestler and they worked for TNA wrestling. And it was excitement all around. And so, yeah, I'm staying positive with it, man. And I think it's going to, hopefully a lot of changes are coming, and I can't wait to see how this shakes things up. I know they're going to go out with they're going to come in with a big bang, when it comes out in January and for that first pay-per-view. So I'm really looking forward to what happens, and seeing where they go with this and how great it can, how much it can grow, because that's another thing with the TNA Impact wrestling. It's just we need to get it back to the glory days that it used to be, and I think right now is one of our best chances to do that.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think that this year, especially for TNA and Impact Wrestling, has been a great year. You're seeing the crowds grow, a lot of sellouts. The in-ring product is, I think, the best weekly show in all of wrestling, consistent every week. what has been your kind of thoughts watching this year develop with Impact Wrestling and seeing the growth? And what do you think maybe some things they could do to take it to the next step further next year with the relaunch of TNA?
Yeah, you mentioned it. You're not the first person to say that they think it's the best product out there throughout the week. And we have a lot of wrestling nowadays throughout the week. There's wrestling on every night of the week. So, yeah, I've been in and out throughout the last few years, and so I get to know the talent. And yeah, it's such a great group of guys and girls, and the talent is just unreal. And when they're able to get out there and show it, it shows that it's some of the best wrestling around. And they got some behind the scenes, a lot of good behind the scene people trying to put together the best, the best stories, the best angles, and just seeing what we can do with that. But yeah, I've just seen it. We got a good mix of some up and coming stars. It just seems like there's always some new faces coming out in TNA, and if you've learned anything from wrestling, it's you have to always develop the new talent. But every so often you see, we have those veterans that are still around that maybe can still even get in there and do it, but just having the name value. We got Eric Young is back, and such a big part of it. I mean, hell, Eddie Edwards has been there for forever, and so he just his name alone, even he's so important with TNA and Impact. And you got Brother Ray and Tommy Dreamer. They're still around helping out. Gail helps out with the she wears a lot of hats, but she's kind of in charge of the women's division, and kind of her face pops up every so often. We just have a great group of people, and even the knockouts division, getting Trinity in there. What a huge asset that was. It's just, I think we need more of that if we can keep bringing in some names to show that hey, this is a great place to work, and I think a lot would agree that there's not just so many restrictions that you may have elsewhere. You can come in here and you can have some fun, and you don't have to worry about walking around on eggshells, and it's just more of it's always been the family atmosphere. Just for a long time it was back in the days I was around, and it still feels like that now, and that's the way everybody talks about it. So we can keep bringing in some great names to add to the product, but also keep building up the new stars. I think that's the direction they need to go. We have to have creative storylines out there that really capture people's attention. But the bottom line is to get more eyes on the product. And I think I'm almost afraid to say this, but kind of what's hurt them is being on Access. There's just not a lot of availability to that channel. But on the plus side, the owners of Anthem, the owners of TNA, they have their own TV channel. So it doesn't get any better than that to have your owners with their own TV channel. So it's kind of it's a hit and miss kind of thing. But yeah, they'll make it. They're going to make it work. I think it's only going in a better direction. Everybody wants success for it, and I think having Scott D'Amore at the helm, he's going to do everything he can to get back to the greatness it once was, and it's already heading that way.
No, absolutely, and I think you kind of nailed a lot of things there, and I want to dive into a little bit of that. But TNA Impact Wrestling, it's a place where people are choosing to come now. You know what I mean? We saw Trinity, like you mentioned, in the last couple of years. We saw the Good Brothers. There are other wrestling companies out there. There's your AEWs, there's your GCWs, your WWE, but people are searching out Impact Wrestling. People are finding TNA Wrestling. There was serious consideration for Will Ospreay to sign there, and even CM Punk was the rumors too. And I think that people are seeing the freedom, like you said, and the matches that they're putting out, and getting that creative outlet. And I really think a big part of that too is that knockouts division. The knockouts division, especially, has really gotten to shine over the last couple of years. I don't think anybody's doing it better with the women in wrestling than Impact Wrestling. What's your thoughts just of the evolution of that knockouts division and just seeing that they're in that main event spot now more often and you know, with your relationship with Gail, like how happy are you to see that come full circle?
Well, number one, they couldn't have a better leader. Gail is just I know I'm biased, but in my opinion, she's one of the greatest women's wrestlers there ever was. So to have her in kind of in charge and leading that team, they couldn't have a better leader. And yeah, and that's not a new thing to say that we would put our women's division up against any other women's division. You know, it could stand up there with all of them, and some say it would, you know, outshine them. It's been like that for a lot of years, to be honest with you. I mean, we just have had good quality group of gals that that come in, and they work just as hard as the guys, and they'll get out there and they'll deliver as well. And you're right, Trinity's a great example. I mean, she could have, you know, she was a free agent. She could have done anything she wanted to do. Anybody would have she'd have been an asset to any company, and she chose to come to TNA, and she had never been there before. It's not like she had something else to build on with us. She just decided to come because, you know, I mean, well, I don't know her reasons, but, you know, I would like to think she's having a good time. She probably feels like she has the freedom to express herself. And yeah, I like that you made that comment. You know, it seems to be a place that people like to come. And, you know, the Good Brothers, I'm glad you brought them up because I'm good friends with them. And yeah, they love to be able to come in and just have some fun. Those guys they want to enjoy their time. And, of course, they want to make their money as well, which is probably why they're in the position they're in now. But yeah, we just got to keep that going. But even I'll even bring up at a time maybe when you know I don't want to say it wasn't so much the wrestling, but you know we just saw them at the 1000th episode, the Beautiful People. You know, forget the quality of matches that they were having, but I remember when they were big, you know, back in the day with TNA, and Vince Russo was running a lot of things, love him or hate him, but you know, he would come right out and say that those were the highest rated times of the program of our Impact show. You know, some were the women, they were getting the higher ratings. So you know, it's obviously something that the people want to see, and then you add on not only the eye candy, but you add on that these girls could get in there and fight. I mean, it couldn't be any better. So I just think they're just going to build on that too, because that's one thing they do have momentum going is the knockouts division.
Absolutely. I mean, my vote for Impact Wrestling Wrestler of the Year this year is Deonna Purrazzo. I think she's been absolutely incredible this year. She's hit a home run every time she's gone out there. She's one of my favorite wrestlers to watch in general. She's fantastic.
Delivers every time.
I'd love to talk a little bit about Scott D'Amore with you here. You know, you kind of got to, you said you were around for the Bound for Glory weekend there. What was it like watching Scott in that role? And what do you think of the work that he's doing, being in charge of TNA Impact Wrestling?
I love what Scott is doing. I've seen him work, and, you know, the thing is, I've known Scott for over 20 years now. And, you know, we've kept in touch over the years, and he's a good friend. But to see him, you know, kind of roll up his sleeves and work. I mean, he when he has to be the boss, he's the boss. And you know, I've even been fortunate enough. I've been because I'm kind of dabbling in the, you know, maybe being a producer roles. You know, at some point, I'm very interested in doing something like that, and I would love to be able to do it with TNA. So I've sat in production meetings, and I've seen the way he conducts himself, and I just, you know, kind of the same I said with Gail. I mean, he's a great leader, and the thing is, he has been there the whole time. So, you know, he has an invested interest in making this company great because he's been a part of it for so long. And, you know, whether it was just on air talent or whether he was, you know, running things behind the scenes, because he was, for a lot of years, he was still helping run a lot of stuff behind the scenes. But I think he's doing a great job. And I'm fortunate enough to still be close with him. So I feel like I always, he's always told me I have an open door there any time. So anytime they're around my area, and I want to come visit, he's like, hell yeah, Cat, come on down. And even like the Hall of Fame, I told him, I said, man, I got to be there for that. He's like, come on in, man. Well, they put me, got a seat for me and put me right out there for the ceremony. So I'm very fortunate to have the relationship I do with him. But as far as a leader, yeah, he just, he wants what we all want, just to make it better and make it grow. And just to see what he could, he amazes me by what he can do. He's, of course he's got his years in the business, but to be able to run the company the way he does, it's just very impressive to me to see. When Jeff Jarrett was doing it for all those years, I saw Jeff as a on-air talent, and even got to work with him, of course. But I didn't see a lot of behind-the-scenes things, and it doesn't until his podcast came out, and he kind of dives into a lot of the details as far as the inner workings of the business. Even me, somebody that lived through it, I didn't know a lot of that stuff. So to hear just the ins and outs, man, and what they go through on a daily basis, it's not just a 2-hour program every week. These guys are grinding every single day. So Scott's he deserves the position he's in, and I think they have a great leader there.
One thing that Scott was very adamant about was that we would not be seeing the return of the 6-sided ring. And from what it sounds like, that's probably for the best. But as someone who was in there in that 6-sided ring, was it as brutal as everybody says it is?
I'll tell you, man, I might throw a damper on this right here, but that was my first thought too. When I heard about TNA, when I saw the announcement and that was the first thing came to my mind too. Maybe they'll bring the six-sided ring back, and then we can bring back 6 sides of steel, and you just get all excited about all that. But it sounded like it was more on the safer side because they said it was a little stiffer, and I'm not denying that. Obviously, if the majority of people say it was, then it was. But I just don't have a recollection of that. I remember when I got in for the first time, and I was actually one of those that I was like, why are we changing this? Why are we doing something like this? And I think a lot of us, because it was new. Anytime something new. And something, there's change involved, especially when you talk about the history of wrestling. It's always been the 4-sided ring, but it kind of became synonymous with TNA. That was our thing. It just became special, and people wanted to, even if you didn't come to see just a particular wrestler, you didn't come to see a particular storyline enhance. Some people just want to come see the 6-sided ring. So I think it's definitely an attraction, but if it can take some years off careers, then it's just not worth bringing back. And I guess I'm sure that was talked about. You can almost be assured that it was talked about, and it was talked that it probably isn't better. It wasn't a good idea for the health of the wrestlers. So, and then he made a final decision, and we're going to stick with it. So, you know what? No more questions about the 6-sided ring. The boss made a decision, and we're going with it. So there we go.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see it as like a one-off event, like a special one-night thing, right? Who knows? You never know, man. Never, right?
Never say never in wrestling.
I'd love to talk to you about the current roster with Impact Wrestling and TNA. Is there people that you're watching right now that are just really impressing you? Like, I know that could be a tough question because that's a loaded roster from top to bottom, but who are you personally enjoying watching right now?
Oh man, I maybe because I'm the old vet. I love seeing Eric Young get out there and do his thing, man. I've seen him throughout the years. It didn't. I've always said, because I was a supporter of him, even from the Team Canada days. When you're kind of hidden in a group, and I was real good friends with the guy, and I knew what he could give, and it did not matter what position they put him in, and whether it was a serious position, whether it was a comedy act, it didn't matter. Eric Young delivered. He was always entertaining. He's a great wrestler. So I think they're fortunate to have him back. And he's a great locker room leader. He's a great ring general. I just love watching Eric. I've also seen how I've mentioned Eddie Edwards. I've seen how he has come up throughout the years and just been a kind of a staple of TNA. So I love seeing Eddie, and I've kind of seen him kind of develop that leader role as well. But also guys that I don't know, maybe I'm just partial to guys that have been in the business for a long time. You know, I'll watch Bully Ray's matches just because, you know, him and I will have similar styles where we're not the high flying and the flips and the dives and things like that. So, you know, when I see Bully Ray out there, I can relate more to him because, you know, it is more of emotion. It's more storyline driven than it is about the moves. So, and that's kind of what we were taught back then, as far as, you know, it's not what you do, it's how you do it and when you do it. So those guys that have been around for a long time, Saban and Shelley, same thing. You know, not only have they been a success in the tag team, but in singles as well. That now they both have the world title to add to their resume. So it's great to have those guys around, and they can kind of adapt to both styles because we've seen them do everything. You know, they can get in there and be as serious as you can be and be storyline driven, but they can also get out there and they can hang with just about anybody that they get in the ring with. So it's just great to see all these guys. Another one I really enjoyed working with the past two matches that I had, the last year, the 10-man, and then this year, the 8-man, was Kenny King. I just thought, you know, Kenny could really explode, and he's a veteran himself. He's been around a long time. So I was really sad to hear that, you know, he wasn't with the company anymore. I think we just found that out, I don't know, a couple weeks ago or something. So, you know, that was really, I was really sad to hear that because I really like Kenny. I think he's great in there. I did some things with him, and, you know, he was just great to work with. And, you know, of course, I need a young guy like that to carry somebody like me through. So, I really hope wherever he does end up that he gets his just due, and they really take notice of him and do something, give him the opportunities. So, but yeah, just such a great group of guys that are around right now, and a lot that the younger guys can really learn from. So they got some really good ring veterans in there, and you know, as long as those young guys coming in, they're open ears. They can learn from. I think we got that's what makes up a great locker room.
Yeah, you know, the vibes that are coming across just from an outsider looking on the inside. Obviously, I'm not backstage. I don't know anything about what's actually going on, but it really does start to feel like the old TNA vibes where you have these talents, you know, back in the day, like yourself and James and AJ and Joe, and now we have this new crop with Speedball Mike Bailey, Josh Alexander, and some of the veterans mixed in there too. It kind of feels like it's getting back to the foundation, what made them in the glory days too. Do you feel similar vibes backstage as to what it was back in your time there?
Yeah, definitely. And you know, and when the time is right, those guys do step up. I mean, Josh, I remember, you know, I met him when he was the tag team because they were giving me crap because they became the longest. Him and Ethan Page became the longest running TNA champs, and I think Storm and I had that record before them. So that kind of, you know, put a connection there. But yeah, I saw him, and then when he broke out of the tag team, he shot right up, man. He has really stepped up. So to have a talent like him, he's another one that, you know, you can put him against anybody in the ring and he can make it happen. And yeah, you mentioned Mike Bailey. You know, to be honest, when I first saw this guy, I wasn't so much of a fan because that's not my style. It doesn't mean doesn't mean I don't like him or that style doesn't work. There's a fan base for that style, and it needs to be a part of the show. However, the more I watch that guy, it's just amazing, not only things he can do, but just the excitement he brings out. I mean, he'll get out there, and I just can't believe how great a matches they are, and just how involved the fans get with it. And just to bring a couple of examples, and I guess this is just fresh in my head because we just came off a WrestleCade weekend, and it's big wrestling weekend convention for the wrestling world, and we get to make a lot of connections and see everybody we haven't seen in years. But Mike Bailey, 2 years in a row, they have wrestling shows going on as well as the convention, and I just kind of pop in and say hi to everybody, but I'll watch a couple matches, and that's usually about it. Well, last year one of the matches I saw was Mike Bailey and Dax Harwood, and I'm a big FTR fan. I love those guys. Of course, wouldn't come as any surprise, the old school workers that they are. So I'm a big Dax fan. But Dax and Mike Bailey, they just went out there, and that match stands out to me. They had one hell of a match, and it was just incredible. And that stuck out in my mind. So I decided to watch a couple matches this year, and another match. Mike Bailey was out there again, and it was just an incredible match. And just the guy just delivers. And God, his opponent's leaving my head right now.
I think he worked on Andrade, if I'm not mistaken.
Andrade, yes, thank you. Just an incredible match, and I love Andrade's work, but it just stood out, for somebody. I mean, I say that to say that because he has won me over with his work. Like, he's not somebody that stood out to me in the beginning, and but now, I mean, he's proven over and over again that he could get out there and mix with the best of them. So TNA is very fortunate to have somebody like that with him, and he's still young, so we may not have even seen the best out of him yet.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that the future and the year 2024 for TNA wrestling is going to be something special to watch, right?
I think so, man. I mean, I think some big things are happening, like you said. The momentum from 2023 is just going to continue, and then bam, blast off in January with the explosion of TNA. I think 2024 is going to be a big year for him.
Male wrestler of the year. This is
hard.
It's a hard one this year, and this is why we separated the male and the women this year, because
we didn't do this with any other, but can we please break down some criteria here? Because I don't want people to assume, because we already did the number 7, and we talked about the year of Will Ospreay. And I don't want people thinking, okay, well, obviously Mike's picking Will Ospreay because he picked Will Ospreay the year of Will Ospreay. Well, it doesn't. I picked Will Ospreay strictly for his in-ring content,
which would be a big part of wrestler of the year.
100%. But to be wrestler of the year, let's put out this full criteria here. You need to be the full package. When you and I discuss who's the greatest wrestler of all time, you and I never dispute the fact that it's Shawn Michaels. Why? Because Shawn Michaels had everything.
Yeah, Shawn and Flair.
If we're talking about the greatest in-ring competitor, are we talking about Shawn? No. Are we talking?
Maybe actually.
I don't know. If we're like you're putting Shawn against Kurt Angle, I'm going Kurt. You know what I mean? Even if you're putting Shawn and Brett, I'm probably going Brett. But if you're talking about best promos, are we going Shawn? Probably not. But if you put,
they're all up there. That's why he's a complete package. He's probably top 5 in all of them. If you put the best
full package, the guy who's great, maybe not the best, but great at everything, not shitty at anything, it's always going to be Shawn Michaels. And that's what I look at for Wrestler of the Year. Who put out that kind of criteria in 2023? Who's telling me the best stories? Who was worth talking about from January to December? Who put in some of the greatest in-ring content? Who put in some of the greatest promos? All this counts for Wrestler of the Year. I think you and I, we haven't fully discussed this. We haven't fully, we might surprise each other. I think we're on the same page here. but we're unless you change your mind.
For me, it really
But
it came down to two guys for me this year.
came down to three for me. But yeah,
For me, it really was a no brainer at the end of the day, though, and I'll just go ahead and say it. It's the AWA heavyweight champion MJF. I don't think anybody had a better year in professional wrestling than
it's
MJF.
well, for me, it's the AEW champion.
What did I say?
There hasn't been an AWA champion in
Oh
several
wow,
years.
Vern Gagne on the mind. Vern Gagne on the mind. Eh? Holy moly! It's late, guys. All right, I'm tired.
Yeah, I think we're both going MJF, which is so funny because a year ago, I would have laughed at you if you said I was going to pick MJF because I wasn't a fan of his heel run 1 year ago.
Who were your other choices other than MJF?
Okay,
you said you were down to three. You said, right?
Okay. Dragon was one of my other guys.
Yeah, me too. He was my second choice.
Do you want to laugh at me for my third one? And you're gonna laugh at me. Everyone's gonna laugh at me, and I don't give a fuck. But Dominic Mysterio was a contender for me.
I'm not gonna laugh at that. I wouldn't put him as a wrestler of the year, but I'd put him as a performer of the year, maybe.
If his perform good call. Dominic Mysterio was fucking awesome this year. He really was. But it had to go to MJF for me because I'm a big fan of everything he did with I think he had a flawless face turn. Face turns are hard, dude. Heel turns aren't hard. It's not hard to go from, hey, we like that guy to, oh, he's a piece of shit. That's not hard.
How about this though? How about this? Sorry to cut you off, but why don't we go right in to the next moment of our list then? Because it involves MJF. So we're gonna throw it to your number 5 moment of the year with our special guest. And we're gonna talk all about MJF there.
All right.
That work for you?
That works for me. It's hard to shut up about this, so just go.
All right. Without further ado, Mike's number 5 moment of the year, which ties into both of our wrestler of the year.
What's up? It's your boy, the Hot Stepper, McCray Martin, and you are watching Count It Out with Mike and Tyler, where they talk about not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 8, but 7 moments of the year.
The countdown continues for our year-end show here. It is our Mike's top 7 moments of the year. This is Mike's list. He's off being a dad right now, so he couldn't join us for this. But of course, I'll step in and fill in for him here. We're talking about the year of Adam Cole and MJF and what this magic they created is. As a fan sitting back and watching, man, what have you thought about what they pulled kind of out of thin air and made into one of the hottest angles of the year?
I have to admit, I did not see an MJF. Well, no, that's not true. I knew that the MJF was eventually going to turn face. I just didn't think we would see it for maybe like another year or so, or maybe even a couple of years, just because he had that. First of all, he had that amazing heel heat. He did he was the person that you loved to hate in a wrestling ring, and it was perfect. And people will say kayfabe is dead, but to his credit, MJF kept it up in every single appearance that he did, and that is true commitment to character, whether you think kayfabe is dead or not. And I've always been a big MJF fan. I'm a big Adam Cole fan, and it was cool to see Adam Cole return, especially as a babyface. Just really fighting. I know that there was the AEW backstage show that they did, which really shined a light on everything that Adam Cole was dealing with, and to see him come back and fight through all that, and then have an awesome match that ended in a time limit draw with MJF, to then them create this like frenemies type thing. And I loved how they escalate. I felt like they paced that and escalated that story really well in terms of Adam Cole being super resistant to then it felt naturally that they finally came together and Adam Cole was like, all right, we're besties now, and have that transition to a tag or ROH tag team title run, and then the match at Wembley. It was cool how it all like came about to play. It just sucks that it was riddled. Like, Adam Cole got injured again, and it feels like the angle kind of just got cut at the knees right before it fully sprouted into something what I think would have been a great rivalry to then come out of that tag team relationship.
Absolutely, man. I think for me, the highlight, it was definitely all those backstage sketches that they did. I just thought they were absolutely hilarious. And I got to mark out seeing a bunch of our buddies in all these sketches. You know, Puff did one with them.
The hotel, yeah.
Alexia Nicole and Casey Spinelli, Taylor Rising, Sleazy Sparks were in the one with them. They got over a kangaroo kick and a double clothesline. Like, how incredible is that? Like as a performer, like if you could take a step back and you know, how the hell do we get a double clothesline over to that extent? Like, it's unreal.
And that's just it, right? And you know, this is something that I'm still learning, and this is something that a lot of indie wrestlers will come to learn, that the moves don't matter. It's I mean, like, we always make fun of Hogan for the leg drop, but like that leg drop made him millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look at the people's elbow. It's so stupid that like you would win with an elbow drop, but the pageantry behind it, the routine of the stare, the ripping off the elbow pad, and like the whole, and you involve the audience, or like the Cobra. The Cobra is a great example too of
100%.
like little to the neck. I think at the end of the day, it's not about the moves in wrestling; it's how you get them over. And so when you do things like that build up with the kangaroo kick, or that build up with the clothesline, like that's what it's all about. And you know, I think the thing with wrestling is that every wrestling fan knows, besides the younger ones obviously, knows that it's fake, knows that it's predetermined choreographed. If you're offended by the word fake, I apologize. But you know, but the purpose of us is not necessarily to make you believe that it's real, but it's to disillusion or like suspend your disbelief just for that moment, and like keep yourself immersed and entertained. As with any form of entertainment, that's the whole point. Is like any fictional story, you know that there's not really dragons out there. There's dragons in Game of Thrones. So it's same thing with wrestling. It's like, sure, we know that a double clothesline in a real fight, you know, isn't going to do much good, but that moment of like you get to interact with all these people around you, and you get excited, and like it just grows with everybody. Like, yeah, then they hit it, and you lose your mind. And
Absolutely.
that's what makes pro wrestling so special.
You use the word entertain and entertaining, and can you name a more entertaining person in wrestling right now than Roderick Strong? And just the role he's doing, like he's like the unsung hero of this angle.
It Oh man, it's so true. Because what I love with Roderick Strong is he is one of the best wrestlers in the world. And you know, and he's a badass mother trucker. Like we all know this. But for him to just like, I mean, I just censored myself by saying mother trucker, but I am gonna swear just
Yeah,
here. Like
yes.
him to be like a little bitch. This whole story, it is hilarious. I'm like, and just like almost reminiscent of like the old school Vicky Guerrero of
Yes.
the excuse me, but just having that like now we can coin it as like the Karen attitude of being, because at first it was like what was cool about it was, at first it was Roddy being like, hey man, like don't fall for MJF's like thing, like gimmick, man, like don't, like he's trying to play you, like don't do this, to then have it transpire into almost like the the bitter ex-girlfriend of like, you were to be with me, like I'm the one who cares for you, I'm your friend.
And like, come over
And
and
to
cut
have
my
it,
grass. He's like, I just had
yeah,
surgery, man.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. to like have that kind of him play the character so well, where again, similar to the storyline, everything's just kind of naturally grown and like and bloomed into what it is now. Nothing felt forced, nothing felt rushed. It was just all these natural progressions that all make sense. So yeah, Roddy is so entertaining just because you know that like he could he could kick anyone's ass in that locker room, but he's here being in a wheelchair with a neck brace on,
100%.
being
It's
pushed
hilarious.
around by the kingdom.
That's amazing, right? And if you just kind of take a look at the evolution of the angle, from the match they had to reluctant tag team partners to main eventing All In, one of the biggest events of all time, to Roderick Strong, and now they're doing the stuff with the Devil. I think it's got to be up there and running for Angle of the Year for sure. Like it's just been so well done. I know that you've spent some time with both MJF and Adam Cole backstage and in the wrestling world. What were your experiences like hanging out with MJF and Adam?
So I can say honestly that they are both incredible human beings. MJF is someone who, again, we talked about like how he plays his character in real life, super gracious and super pleasant to be with. I remember we brought him back to 'cause I was living at home at the time and brought him back to our place. I was like, "Hey man, like here's the guest bed, here's a shower, whatever you need." He's like, "Thank you so much for having me." Or like earlier we went to Tim Hortons and he got chili at Tim Hortons. I've never gotten chili in my life at Tim Hortons. I don't think Canadians get chili at
No,
Tim
yeah,
Hortons.
I don't think we do.
So I remember being like, "Chili, Timmy's? All right." But yeah, and just super super grateful. And I've told this on other podcasts, but he gave me the inspiration for my first ever gear, which like the colorful tracksuits and everything. Like that was him. Because I told him what my gimmick was. I had one match at the time, or yeah, one match at that point, and he was like, with your character, like you shouldn't wear like traditional wrestling gear. You should get like some cool tracksuit or something like that, and like got three crazy colorful tracksuits that helped me stand out amongst the other indie wrestlers in Ontario to then I am where I am now. And then Adam Cole, again, like you listen to him on every platform that he does appearances on, whether it's like he's on the AEW games or on a podcast or anything like that. And just again, super humble, super down to earth, and again, another just super nice and genuine person. And just hanging out talking to him. And like he treats everyone as an equal from just my brief interaction with him. Like that's kind of the sense I get. It's like he saw the extras. He's like he could be like, oh, I don't want to sit with them. It's like, or like, they're beneath me. They're extras. He is not like that whatsoever. He was like talking to us, more than happy to just hang out. And so that was cool to like, they say don't meet your heroes. Yeah, some of them are pretty cool.
It's time for your little baby here, Mike. You want to talk
but
about your favorite indie moments of the year, and I'm excited for this one as well.
I've been working really hard on these. I want to talk about what I think is the best indie show put on this year, and who I think is the best indie wrestler this year. And I didn't stick to Ontario. A lot of it, because I only stuck to what I watch. Okay, and I only watch about 5 or 6 different promotions. But I have to I consider, and I believe you do as well. I consider GCW to be indie.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I watch GCW, so I had to consider their shows and their wrestlers. I consider Black Label Pro to be indie, and I watch Black Label Pro, so I had to consider all this. So it's not just Ontario indies. I also considered stuff out of Ontario. And there's a lot of great wrestling happening in Quebec right now.
C4.
Well, no, C4's in Ottawa, but
yeah, potato.
however, fucking that you just messed my brain up because now I can't remember the name of the promotion I was thinking of from Quebec.
IWA, that's Montreal.
Thank you. No, IWS.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, that's what you said. Where do you want me to start? Show or wrestler?
Go with show.
Okay. I'm gonna give my 2 honorable mentions first before I give the show. 2 shows that came really fucking close to making it. Start with IWS. IWS versus GCW is fucking phenomenal.
Mhm.
All around fun stuff, right down to their surprise of Nick Gage being there that nobody expected. Fantastic fucking stuff. Another very close contender just happened like less than 2 weeks ago, and that's at C4 Wrestling, their 16th anniversary special, 16 Candles, where Junior Benito finally won the big one. He beat
Yeah.
Kevin Blackwood to be the C4 champion. The show in general was amazing. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that on IWTV,
I
but
haven't
it's
yet.
the whole show is fantastic. It's fucking really fun. Lufisto makes a surprise appearance. Our boy Young Jay Lee becomes the number 1 contender for the C4 title, which, by the way, I'm gonna give some heat about. I think they're rushing that. He's gonna be facing Junior at the very next show. I think they should span that out a bit. Not have that match right away, but that's just me. However, match of the year for me happened in our backyard. I'm sorry, show of the year happened in our backyard. It happened at a show that you were the ring announcer for. We're going to Cage Rules Everything Around Me. Cream by Barry Wrestling was without a doubt the best indie card of all of the indies in 2023.
I agree, and it also had the Independent Wrestling Announcer of the Year, Ontario's most dangerous announcer, TCO.
Do you need more heat in the world of ring announcers? Come on, bud.
Oh, come on now. I got no heat. I'm the best. No, that show was phenomenal. From bell to bell.
It had two match of the year contenders on it right there.
Yep.
Okay. And not just in indies, in wrestling. All right. Yeah, you have Young Jay Lee versus McRae Martin. And then you have a cage match between Gabriel Fuerza and Reverso.
Mm-hmm.
2 matches that will go down in the history of Barry Wrestling as 2 of the greatest matches in that promotion.
Yeah, very underrated match with Vinny Pacifico and Mark Wheeler on that card as well.
Mark Wheeler had a banger year.
He had a great year, especially like if he wasn't injured, I think wrestler of the year.
If he didn't get hurt, he'd be in contention for my indie wrestler of the year.
Fun 4-way match there with Alexia Nicole, Stratosphere, Greed, and Pretty Ricky, and an appearance by Trent Seven. Also,
yes.
This was my match. This is my card of the year.
This is the only card I feel complete and utter remorse for not attending.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Barry had a stretch of great cards here, and this was the best one.
I've rewatched this entire show 3 times.
Yeah.
I can't say that about any other pay-per-view this year.
No, I mean, I don't think I've watched anything 3 times this year, to be honest, but I've watched a couple matches on here more than once.
Now, I have a good guess of who your wrestler of the year is going to be. So would you like to peel that Band-Aid off before I go on mine?
For my independent wrestler of the year, I have it.
Yes.
I'm torn between 4 names, and I'll.
No, okay. Now I want you to realize. Now I understand that we're not just talking about Barry.
Well, I am. I don't watch much else.
Okay. So would you like to go first? Or would you like me to go?
I'll go first. I'm torn between 4 names, but I guess one of them doesn't count anymore because he's newly signed to TNA Wrestling, and that's Trent Seven.
Okay.
Who's strong contender for me.
We got to see a lot of Trent this year.
I want to give a shout out to Leo Sparrow as well. He's doing some great things on the independent scene. You have to talk about Alexia Nicole as well. And I'm going to give my pick for Independent Wrestler of the Year and Barry Wrestling Wrestler of the Year because they're different.
Is it one and the same? Oh, okay.
They are, but because I don't watch that much independent wrestling, but I mean,
But are we talking about one person or two people here?
It's two different people, but I'm going just two different categories. I have to break it up.
In that case, I don't know who your wrestler of the year is. I know who your Barry wrestler of the year is. It has to be.
Yeah, it's Myung Jae Lee.
Yeah.
And
that was my guess for your wrestler of the year.
For the independent wrestler of the year, I don't think that there's anybody that you can compete with that's not Matt Cardona. He's the indie god, man.
Okay, he is the indie god. And I got one name that I think was more impressive this year. Only one. But Matt Cardona, was he the number one contender to this guy's spot? 100%. Matt Cardona had a hell of a fucking year. But the guy I picked, I think, was just more impressive. His in-ring content was fucking... He did not have a bad match all year. And he had matches that spanned the fucking globe. I'm choosing Von Vertigo as my indie wrestler of the year.
Yeah. I mean, guy's fantastic.
Vaughn went everywhere. He wrestled for dozens of promotions all over the world and had a banger in every single one of them. Vaughn, every time I think Vaughn can't get any better, he surprises me.
Mm-hmm.
Von Vertigo, he wouldn't be my choice for Barry wrestler of the year. That's Myung Jae Lee. But as the wide, overall, all over the indies, I got to go for Vaughn.
Respect it. New Barry Wrestling 3 Pistols champion.
I'd also like to throw out two names before we finish the indie spotlight. If I'm going to spotlight the indies, we don't do this for the rest of wrestling. I want to do it strictly for the indies. I want to talk about the two most improved wrestlers that I've seen in the indies this year. People that wouldn't have been talked about 12 months ago, but are sure as hell are going to be talked about today, and I think are going to be big time contenders for this conversation in a year from now. We're going to start with Mikey Jenkins.
Love me some Mikey Jenkins. Got to catch up with him on the weekend.
Mikey, when we first started watching Mikey in his early days of Crossbody less than 2 years ago, Mikey was a green student coming out of was he at a Ben's camp or was he at a Rips camp?
Ben.
He was at a Ben's camp, and he was just, there was something about Mikey right away. There was something. He was green as goose shit, but there was something very special about him. He was doing a great. He was doing an angle at the time that you and I got to see him with Pretty Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're under the ring tree of Pretty Ricky Wilde, you're getting some great tutelage. Bring it now, where the work he's doing with both Crossbody and Rock Solid Wrestling.
Yeah,
Mikey is quickly becoming one of the hottest names in indie wrestling, and I think in a year from now he might be in contention for Wrestler of the Year.
Yeah, that's I don't disagree with that at all.
The other most improved name, coming from the first time we saw this person in Barry Wrestling to where they are now, is remarkable. Not only their in-ring work, but their physical stature, what they look like, everything they've done. Haley Dillon is one of the best things in wrestling right now.
All right.
Haley Dillon.
I thought you were going to go somewhere else there.
Haley Dillon is one of the most impressive people that C4 has to offer right now, and I hope to God Sean Gibson has the sense of mind to bring her into Barry more often.
I love Haley Dillon. Great human being as well. Super great.
The first time we saw her, Puff brought her into Barry, and we, again, just like Mikey, we said there's something there. You and I sat there and we said there's something about Haley. Haley Dillon has come so far from the first time you and I saw her in Barry to where she is now. If you saw her on the 16 Candles show, where she went up against several different people, including fucking Lufisto on this last show. Her physical appearance, her in-ring ability, it's come so far since the first time we saw her, and I cannot wait to talk about her in 12 months from now when we're talking about Female of the Year.
I'm going to put a name out there, and
who did you think I was talking about?
Rajan Husher.
Definitely worth talking about, 100%. Yeah,
I'm a big fan of what he's doing. His character work is top shelf already, and he's just getting started. So
yes, he is.
I'm gonna go out there and say Rajan Husher. Keep an eye on.
I'll keep an eye on 100%, but this was most improved. I don't think Rajan improved at all, and that's a
He
compliment.
debuted this year. That's
Yeah,
like
but that's what I mean. That's a compliment because there was nothing to improve on. When he came in, he was already like I didn't guess. Oh, he's green. He's green. He's brand new. He was already just like so good. The first time we saw guys like Mikey and Haley, they were rookies. You could tell they were rookies. They were learning. There were students. You knew they were students. You didn't get that from Rajan.
yeah,
Rajan was already so fucking good the first time I saw him.
I think big things in store for Rajan in 2024.
I agree.
And with that, let's get back to the list.
Hey everybody, Carrie Silken, Ring of Honor Ambassador. And I'm on here with Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. Check us out.
There is one tie though that I've kind of saw this year that was a tie to your Ring of Honor and to this Ring of Honor, and for me as a fan, and I'll just say this right now, and I'm not just saying this because you're on our show today. I've been watching wrestling for my entire life. I'm almost 40 years old. My two favorite eras to watch in professional wrestling is the Jim Crockett, like late 80s up until about 89, 90. And Ring of Honor in like 04 to 09. Like, I think those are my two favorite eras of professional wrestling to watch. So as a current wrestling fan watching the current product, I was really pumped up to see CM Punk and Samoa Joe get back in there again this year after 18 years, right?
I
like,
know.
how cool was that for you?
I know. You know what? It was awesome. And CM Punk and I, it's like over the years, I'd be friends with certain guys and other guys. But for example, Bryan Danielson. I mean, I saw him at every show between 2003 to when he left in September in 2009. And hey, what's up, Carrie? Hey, Brian, how you doing? He would be reading a book often. You don't see that anymore. And we would talk a little. One time he wanted to get his dad tickets for a Seattle Seahawks football game, and I worked it out for him. But where I'm going with this is, we weren't like close, as opposed to Jay Lethal and I, who even though he left Ring of Honor sort of early, we kept in contact. And same with Jimmy Jacobs, same with Brian Kendricks. Like, these are like my close friends. Like, you don't want to be close to everybody. Plus, it's like I was the boss. And speaking of that era of Ring of Honor and of what they're doing now, look at my man Colby, Tyler Black. Unreal. What a good guy. And I'm still in touch with him. What does that mean? We'll text each other once in a blue moon, or if they come to my area, like I've met them for coffee a few times. These guys don't have a lot of time. Same with Steen. They're busy, but you can't be friends. You don't want to be friends with everyone. And what was the original question? How did I?
I was just saying how cool it was to see Punk and Joe back in the ring.
Oh yes, there. That's right. Thank you. So Punk, okay. He and I, whatever. It's cool. And then one time, the Yankees and the Cubs were playing at Yankee Stadium. It was the first time the Yankees played the Cubs, and this was an interleague play, right? The previous to this happening was them playing each other in the 1932 World Series.
Okay.
So I got tickets. I went with Punk. I took him to the city. He was with this friend of his. and it was like this not, it wasn't a girlfriend, but this woman that he was close, a buddy, and the three of us went to the game. I showed him around New York City, and when he left ROH, I only texted him a couple of times. One time I went with Larry Sweeney to Madison Square Garden, and we were able to get front row seats. And Punk was in a cage match. And there's a picture that George Napolitano, if you go back on my Instagram, George Napolitano, the photographer and my buddy, at the end of the match, Punk came over and gave me and Sweeney a big hug. And so don't worry, I'll get this up to date. So, but Punk and I weren't buddy. There was a couple of times I texted him for something, but when he came into AEW and I went to one of the AEW shows and I really got to like see him behind, backstage for the first time in 15 more than that 2000. Well, if you want to count when he hugged me and Sweeney, which would have been around 2008, so it's like good 15 years, right? And I was, so obviously this is before he had the problems there. So he was like really nice. He was like over the top nice to me. Oh, Carrie, my dressing room, your dressing room, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So when he did the match with Joe, he sent me a text, and he's not a warm, fuzzy guy at all. He sent me a text that was something like, I just want you to know if it wasn't for you, this wouldn't have happened, which, whatever, that was nice of him to say. And he says, as I walked out, when I walked up the steps, going out the ramp, I yelled your name out. Very nice, So, and Samoa Joe too, another good guy, another guy that I'm not ultra close with, but when I've seen him, I've gone to a number of these AEW events, and he's cool, he's a good dude, and it's just a damn. It sucks that the thing with Punk didn't work out. Mm-hmm. I think they've got really good talent. We know that. But it seems like they don't know. There's too much. They don't know what to do with it all. There's too much going on. It's too fast. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, it's tough to keep track of who's on the roster now, for sure. It's such a big roster. I was incredibly disappointed to see Punk leave Ring of Honor. I've been a Punk fan since I first saw him in Ring of Honor, in all honesty. So I was really excited to see him come back. As a fan, I went crazy when he came out to his old Ring of Honor theme against MJF. Like, that was amazing for me. I just I wish it worked out differently as a fan. I wish they could have all worked together. Like, I don't know. I'm not even going to pretend to know what it's like to try to control a situation like that. He had his press conference, which was well documented, and like I don't know how you handle something like that if you're Tony Khan. That's a tough spot.
Tony Khan should have said something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and I would say this to, I'd say this to Tony Khan's face. Why didn't you're sitting there, the guy's shit talking, it's your press conference. Hey, after the first 5 minutes, hey, Punk, let's talk about that match tonight. But he didn't. So everybody knows that as good a talent as he is, Punk, he does his own thing. And sometimes it's not the right thing. And as far as what happened with that was that the same night that they had that fight? Or was that in the,
there was a couple with Pump, but they had the one
no, the one where they had the big the night they had that press conference. Was that also the same night that that altercation took place?
Yeah.
I don't know. In my experience, which was being backstage at Ring of Honor for close to 20 years, most of the guys got along. And when I talk to these old timers, I'm very close. I became very close with Kevin Sullivan and Bushwhacker Luke and Dutch and guys that have been around. There were guys, and you know this, there were guys in the back. There's guys that played for the Toronto Maple Leafs on the same team that hate each other, but they play. Or it goes on into, if you're working you're working a job anywhere, an office job or wherever, there's going to be people you don't like, but you work with them. And that's why they call it professional wrestling. And I'm not taking any sides with, because I'm close with, I was very close with the Young Bucks too. Spent a lot of time with those kids. I know their parents. I've been to their houses. They've stayed here. And it's just a damn shame the whole thing went down like it did.
Yeah.
And I don't know who was right and I really don't.
See, and to me too, as a fan, it's disappointing. But I was really upset with the All In situation to read about that with the I think it was Jungle Boy's name when he was making those comments on air. Like professional. This is your biggest show of the year. Why are we shooting on TV against something that nobody knows what you're talking about?
I know. Well, once again, it's not my company. I was fortunate. I saw shit go down backstage. I remember the time. Here's a good one, and you probably know this story. The Teddy Hart story back in 2003, right? The guy, he put himself over, for lack of a better way to put it, and the guys took his fucking his gear and his bags and threw it out of the locker room, and you're gone. There's certain things you don't, but that was done in public. What goes on backstage, I've seen problems with guys. You want me to say some names? Guys, certain guys were hot-headed, and if they were here or if they hear this or they were sitting with us, they'd be, yeah, like Ciampa and Michael Elgin, Aries.
Yeah.
Aries was a pain in the fucking ass. And I've seen him, and they know that they're a pain, and same with Punk. But at the same time, you work things out. That's the as far as Punk, it's almost like he wanted to get fired.
Yeah.
I'm. But to me, it was a bad business decision in letting him go or whatever. That's all.
I mean, I think it is cool that at least his last match, for now, I don't know if he'll ever get in the ring again. You always hear rumors and what ifs and whatnot. And, you read what you read and what's true is what's true. We don't know. But I think it's really cool that at least his last match was in front of all those people with Samoa Joe. I think that probably meant
Absolutely.
a lot to him as well, right?
Absolutely. That was poetic justice.
Well, when we told you that we had an action-packed year-end show with some amazing guests, we were not lying. And that's just proof right now, Mike. We did pretty good for part one, and we still have another part to go.
There's a whole other week of show to go through, man.
You know, I thought we had a pretty killer show last year. We had a pretty killer show the year before. I think we might be outdoing ourselves this year, bud.
Next week, stay tuned because we will be hearing from WWE producer and former tag team champion and our favorite cat dad, TJ Wilson, is going to be joining us next week as we continue our countdown of the top 7 moments of the year. Mike, I got to tell you, so far, pretty damn good list, my friend.
I told you, man, I'm redeeming myself. You might even let me do a Canada show one of these years.
Well, let's not get crazy here. All right. Let's not get crazy here. But I think that we've heard enough from us this week. And we want to thank you guys again for all the support throughout the year that you have done for us. We could not be what we are without the people that listen and the people that support us and the people that help us. So thank you to all of you. And I had other stuff to say, but I lost it because it's just one of those days.
No, I am with you. I will bring us home on behalf of week 1. We can't even do this in one show anymore. It's got to be 2 shows. One of these years we're going to start doing 3 or 4 shows because it's just such a packed show with so many awesome people. I want to thank you, Tyler, for your hard work helping getting the show together. You did all the editing and shit like that. So this show really was your baby this year. I've been working on other things. This show was your baby. We're only halfway through though, bud.
Whoa.
So stay tuned. Please don't do that. Stay tuned. Next week we got part 2 coming right up for you. With what are our numbers 4 through 1?
I don't even know. It's been such a packed week. I can't keep track. We got some cool guests next week though, so stick around.
We have some cool guests. Bring it on. I can't wait to do it. Until then though, until the very last week of 2023, you have been counted out.
Cheers.